Once you've upgraded your profile to Enterprise, there are a couple of steps you need to take to ensure that you're getting the full use of the tool. One is to set up your rights management, and two is to create your additional users. We'll look at rights management first, because when you create an additional user, you assign them to a profile that you can set up here under rights management. By default, the rights management consists of 4 different types of users: an admin, a reviewer, a data entry user, and a custom user. In general, we've envisioned these to be a lower type of user for the data entry user, someone who is an additional set of eyes on the forms for the reviewer, and then an overall type of person who is the administrator, with the custom user being a 4th general type of user that you can set up to your liking. However, in practice, you can set any of these users up any way that you would like to. You can allow any of them to have all permissions, or modify the permissions as you go. Let's look at what some of the permissions allow the user to do. Under my admin column, I have almost everything selected here, but I could choose to have my admin be able to create, edit, and view payers, but possibly not delete the payer. You'll notice that took away some of the rights up here because previously I had selected to have all rights assigned for this user within all of the people, which would be payer, recipients, and users. The recipients and the users have similar functionality where you can create, edit, delete, or view within those categories. My tin category consists of 2 items. I have a view tin masking and allow someone to check the tin match. View tin masking allows me to have that user view the entire 9 digits of the taxpayer identification number, and the check tin match lets that user verify the taxpayer identification number and name with the IRS database. Continuing with people, they could send a W-9 request. They could send a W-8 expiration reminder. The W-9 doesn't expire, but the W-8 does after 3 years. I have the option to import data. Under Forms, I can set that up for many different items, as you can see here. If I allow access to everything, then they can create, edit, delete, and view forms, as well as submit for review, approve, and reject, submit to e-file, print, email, and send for postal mailing. One thing to note, as I have here in my data entry user, if I have a user who should be submitting for forms to be reviewed, that viewer should not be able to approve or reject the forms, nor should that user be able to submit those forms to e-file. I want that user to be able to submit the forms to review and have another user come in and review those forms behind the user who submitted them. That would be the object for the reviewer that I have here. The last few items on the page consist of allowing that person to make payment, viewing the events or the audit trail, the history of actions taken in the system by other users, and then processing rejected forms. Once I've completed any changes here, I would save my changes, and then I would be able to apply those profiles to the users as I set them up. The users setup is here under the Member User section. I have 1 user set up here, but I can add any number of users simply by putting in the name, the phone number, the email address, and then selecting the user type based off of the rights that I just set up. Within this, even though I've assigned this person to a reviewer profile, I could then provide additional rights inside of that specific user. So my profile can apply to anyone, but I can give additional rights or take rights away from any specific user that I'm setting up in this profile. Separately, I want to be sure to assign payers to that user. This button allows me to add or assign any existing payers as well as any that are created later. Or I can go in and I can limit this person to seeing maybe only 1 or 2 of my payers that I have added inside of Tax 1099 to this point. When my users begin to use the system, this person, if they have a data entry only, then they would submit the form and it would go to the next person in line for the review. The reviewer would get an email notification. They'd be able to log in and they would be able to review and approve the forms. And then subsequently, after they've approved those forms, they would either submit them themselves or it would go to the next person in the chain in order for those to be submitted. All that goes back to the rights that you set up within the individual users. Please give us a call if you have questions about setting up those users, or chat with us in our chat box down here. We can help you go through with the setup of the users, and we can help you with making sure that you've got the rights set up appropriately for your users.